Hello guys, how are you all doing? Welcome to another video. In today's video, I'm going to talk about why reading history or reading books about history is really important for you. How you can change yourself, how you can change your thinking, the way you function by just reading about history. So let's just get through all the points in a sequential order on how reading history can be very beneficial for you. So point number one that I want to talk about is reading history makes you a more knowledgeable and perceptive person. So obviously, if you read about history, if you read about the events that have happened in the past, it will grow. Your knowledge will grow. It will grow your thinking capabilities, your potential to actually think about something, to have a perception about something. Why am I saying it makes you a perceptive person? See, you might have knowledge, you might have wisdom, but to develop a perception, it is very important that a human being has a perception. He can think, and when he sees something, he can think and analyze that thing in his mind and create a perception about that thing, how he perceives it. And that really comes from reading history. When you read history, when you read about different civilizations, different struggles of humans in the past, on how we have developed into today's economy, where we have come from, all these things help you gain a better perspective towards life. It helps you gain a better perspective towards each and every of the major aspects of life, like economy, like people. You start to not to judge people just by their appearance or just by their first look, how they seem to you. You tend to rationalize things, you tend to analyze things, which takes us to a second point of ours, which is reading history makes you a rational thinker. Now, why am I saying a rational thinker? When you read history, when you read about the events, all the different wars, all the different kinds of struggles that have happened in the past, it makes you a rational thinker. It develops an intellect in your brain. Your intellect is suddenly able to analyze and rationalize things. You learn that not everything and nothing, for that matter, in the world is either black or white. There is nothing that is black or white. Everything has shades, everything is gray. They have their shade, they have their own types of sequences that they have. So that is why it is really important to be a rational thinker, and that can be achieved by reading history. When you read history, you tend to, when you learn about so many of types of the people that have been in the past, so many types of economic revolution, globalization, and going even way further back, when we learn about the ancient civilization, what were people doing back then, the Silk Route, all of these things. These things make you a rational thinker and makes your perception about life a more rational and logical. That is really important, to be logical. Reading history makes you a more logical person. Now, coming to our third point, which is makes you grateful about the present. Now, why am I saying this? When you read about history, obviously, the world that we are living in today, we are living in 2020 right now. This is the 21st century. So you can see how 2100 years have passed on. And we are talking about the AD version of time. Before that, BC and BCE, all that CE versions of time. So all of these thousands of years have passed on. And still, we today criticize our lives. We criticize our way of living. We criticize the present times that, no, this is not enough. We don't actually feel grateful for what we have. And reading about history can actually make you grateful about your present. What you are doing in your present, what the kind of life that you're living in your present. When you read about history, you'll get to know that it is way better and it is way much more civilized, or way much more predictable, you can say, than the life that was being led years back. So when you learn about that type of life, when you learn about the people that were living in those times, you actually start feeling grateful about the life that you have today. It happens subconsciously, but it does happen. You start caring about the little things in life. You start feeling good about the little moments in life. So all of this can be achieved just by reading books about history. You can start from anywhere. You can read any non-fiction. You can just pick up any non-fiction author. You can read about the world history, European history, American history, Indian history. All of these are so interesting. And if I know reading history or learning about history may sound boring, as it has been throughout our education system, on how our education system actually makes us hate the subjects that we study. And well, this is a topic for another video. We'll talk about this later on. But reading history is actually not that boring, because in the end, you're actually learning about people. You're learning about incidents that actually happened. So it's not something hypothetical. It's not something that is all in the air, and it's nothing stable on this earth. Actually, history is something that happened on the very land that you're living today. Something that happened here, something that happened where you're living today years back. How can this not be intriguing to you? It will. You just have to start it. You just have to kickstart the process. You can start by watching videos on YouTube, watching short videos on world history, watching short documentaries on history, and you can just start from there and then go eventually you can graduate to the books. Start from the videos, but really important to learn about history. Now coming to our points. Fourth point that we're going to talk about. By reading history, we actually learn about the mistakes that humans have made, and then we rectify them in the future or in the present. See, reading history is actually very important for people who are in the defense forces, or who are in the economic sector, or who are in the, you can say, who are in the administrative sector, the social sector. Really important for these people, because all of these sectors are related to humanities, related to how social order is maintained in the world. And you can actually, when you read history, you can actually see that how people in the past have made the mistakes that have had bad consequences. And now you have this treasure of history. You can learn from those mistakes. You can actually analyze, and you can actually implement a better version of any kind of a policy or any kind of a regime that was happened in the past and that had a bad effect. Something that happened in the past is not necessarily bad if it had bad consequences. You have to learn to analyze things. You have to learn to look at the different perspective of things. Like world wars, what good obviously world wars were bad. World wars were very bad. But can you think of one good point that happened from World War II? The good thing that happened from World War II was because of Hitler's regime and because of a authoritarian and totalitarian form of government that was, you can say, emphasizing and having a cruel effect on people. The world actually agreed upon a new social order and abolishment of all the imperialistic systems that were going on. And that is why the colonies or the colonization, British colonization, had to be stopped. All the colonies, you can see, after the end of World War II, they started gaining the independence one by one. And that is one good thing that happened after World War II. Colonization stopped, imperialistic government stopped. There was a new world order. So that is the point I'm making here. Is not everything in the world is black and white. You have to analyze things, you have to look at different perspective of things, and that can be developed by reading history. Now, coming to a fifth and final point, which is by learning history, we get ideas to propagate for the better future. See, history is like a treasure. History is like all of the history. See, imagine that you are playing a game. Imagine that you're playing PUBG or whatever the latest games are there. So now imagine that you have a set of work, a set of literature about thousands of people that have played that game in the past and have either succeeded or failed by using different types of methods. So now you have this treasure. Now you have this all these types of different implementation to do that work. So how does this benefit you? You actually get new ideas to propagate for the better future. There is also this popular saying that we never learn from history. Why do we never learn from history? We never learn from history because we never read history. We are not even, we do not care about the history. But if we learn history, and if we actually learn from history, we can actually propagate to a better future. We can make our future better by learning from the mistakes of the past and implementing the better version, implementing a revolutionized or a 21st century version of those you can say those policies or those new doctrines that were happening. We can actually have a revised version of those systems and have a better future, propagate towards a better future, cultivate, generate a more fruitful breed in our future. So guys, let's just recall all the 5 points that we talked about in this video. First of all, learning history, reading history makes you a more knowledgeable and a perceptive person. Second point, it makes you more rational thinker. Third point, it makes you be grateful. It increases your gratification about the present that you're living in. Fourth point, we learn from the mistakes of the past, the mistakes that people have made in the past. We learn from them. And fifth and the final point, we get ideas to propagate for the better future. So guys, that is it for this video. I hope you learned something new today, and I hope you start learning from history and actually start reading it. And in hope of a better future, I wish you good luck. If you like the video, drop a like, subscribe to this channel. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.